What's your name?
My name Sing Lai.
Your name what?
My name Sing Lai.
And you're Khmer?
Kanyom Sing Lai.
Yeah, Khmer.
Yeah.
Cambodian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say hello.
Hello.
Say welcome.
You're welcome.
No, say welcome.
So welcome.
Welcome
Welcome
to the podcast.
to the podcast.
Yes. Perfect. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Earlier, Sing Lai welcomed you to the podcast because we are all inclusive. We both appreciate you watching if you're watching the YouTube video or if you're listening on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Google Podcast, or wherever all your podcasts are listed. I appreciate you. I do. I get hard when I see new subscribers. I get hard when I see new views. When you guys leave a comment. I get harder than a man who has been in prison for 38 years for a murder he didn't commit. But then he finally gets out. But because prison has transformed him in the most animalistic way, he gets out finally. He doesn't understand technology or anything, so he has to be taught. But he finally learns. And he starts a YouTube channel about his life in the prison system, being wrongly and unjustly incarcerated for 38 years. And then he'll go over to your house and he'll beat the shit out of you for leaving some dumbass comment. Because that is hard. And that is as hard as it makes me when I see you watching, listening, subscribing, liking, or leaving a comment. I appreciate you. So there's this story that's it's going to sound like it comes out of a Hollywood or some kind of movie factory or some bad romantic comedy screenplay. But for those of you listening who write screenplays, get your pens ready, get your fingers ready to tap on the old keyboards and be the first one, because I can almost guarantee Hollywood is going to want a script for this story eventually to make it into a romantic comedy. Because it's just one of those stories where art imitates life, life imitates art, farts imitate shits, and shits sometimes imitate farts. We've all had that experience out in public at one point. That's all going to happen. Because here's the deal. The future, soon-to-be mother-in-law of her son's bride-to-be. So the bride and the woman would have been mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Discovered at the last minute that who she thought was her daughter-in-law was actually her long-lost daughter who had gone missing 20 years prior, about to get married to her son. I am not making this up. I know sometimes people think, you come up with some crazy stories. Where do you hear it? But it's been all over the news. It's actually a thing. Just look that up. Mother-in-law discovers daughter-in-law to be as her long-lost daughter. You'll find the articles. And it's a crazy story, and I have to talk about it because I love stories like that. So here's what happened. Boy meets girl. They date. They probably have premarital sex because that's what people do now. Well, not just now, but any time in history. But at one point, you had to keep it a secret. Shh. Can't do that. They'll burn you at the stake for being a witch. So they meet. They fall in love. eventually decide to get married on the wedding day. On the wedding day, the boy's mother notices on the bride-to-be a birthmark that is the exact shape, size, and positioning of the same one that was on her daughter that she had lost almost 20 years ago. So, of course, her mind is reeling. Her mind is going through all the scenarios of what's going on. So she goes to the girl's parents, who are, of course, at the wedding, and asks them discreetly, or as discreetly as possible. This happened in China, by the way, so there are rules on how you talk to people and how you interact with people concerning personal matters. She can't just go up and go, "Hey, yo, I think that bitch is my daughter." She can't do that. That would have happened in Alabama. But then again, in Alabama, some girl about to marry her brother, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, and everybody would have just laughed it off as nothing. It's just the way it is down there. It's the rules of the trailer park, and we must respect the rules of the trailer park. But she went to the parents of the bride-to-be and asked them respectfully, "Is there any chance that your adoptive parents of this woman, is she your biological daughter?" Now, of course, the other parents, the parents of the bride-to-be, had kept it secret all this time. Nobody knew that she wasn't actually their daughter. But due to the circumstances and how this woman explained it to her and how surprised she was, they had to admit, yes, we found this baby 20 years ago on the side of a highway or on the side of a road. And we picked her up and decided to adopt her, make her our own. Come to find out, that woman that's about to marry this woman's son is actually her long-lost daughter. A couple things there I want to talk about. First of all, because according to the mother, her daughter went missing 20 years ago. According to this other family, they found her on the side of the road. Now, I don't know how that works in China. I don't know, there might be a road somewhere that if you get a baby that has a birthmark you don't like, doesn't have the right color hair, doesn't have enough hair, doesn't have or has too much hair, something like that, maybe there's a road. And this special road, what you do is you take the baby and you put it on the side of the road, but then you just drive up the road slowly, checking out all the other babies where other parents have abandoned them, and just pick the one you want. Like this one, is it male or female? How much hair does it have? Too much hair. Ooh, not enough hair. Is it a boy or a girl? Another girl? No, thank you. I don't know how that works. Is it in disposable diapers or actual cloth diapers? That might indicate something. I don't know. But the way it sounds like those two stories conflicted a little bit, but the article didn't go too much into that. It was just my thought. But surely there must be a road of abandoned babies somewhere, and you just go pick the one you want in exchange for the one that you had that you were like, you're not for me. Get out of here. Isn't a bad idea, I don't think. Everybody gets something they want. The wild animals take the rest. Hey, circle of life. Yes, I know I'm a bad person for talking about babies like that, but get over it. But anyway, but here's if that wasn't a twist enough, here's the bigger story, is that pictures of the mother and daughter having that conversation and finally realizing that they are biologically connected. Went viral. They're both crying and hugging and just, oh my God, I can't believe it. But you got to remember, they're at a wedding where the bride-to-be is about to marry that woman's son, which would make them brother and sister, except, plot twist, come to find out, the groom-to-be wasn't the biological son of the woman. She had adopted him about 20 years earlier, which is why I came up with that idea that there must have been that mistake. They must have went on the road of abandoned babies. And apparently the father of this girl isn't still around. So I'm thinking that's probably what happened. They had a baby. It's a girl. The father, is like, I don't want a girl. I want a boy. Well, let's go to the road of abandoned babies. We'll drop the girl out there. We'll find one. Oh, there's a boy. We'll pick him up. We'll adopt him. Or however it happened. But then all of a sudden they meet years later after the other couple picked up the girl, and there you go. They fell in love. They met. So technically they weren't really brother and sister. Although that's going to make some weird family reunions. So it has kind of a double happy ending, like the mother and the daughter got reunited, and then come to find out the adopted son and this woman could still get married because they're not related at all. So nothing funky going on there. But it's like she thought she was going to get a daughter-in-law. Come to find out, her adopted son is actually going to be her son-in-law. Crazy, right? That's an incredible story. That's why I told you at the beginning, you should have gotten your pencils, your pens, your little computer things, your tablets, and started typing away on a screenplay, because Hollywood is going to eat that shit up. You should have a script to Hollywood no later than 2 weeks from now with a fictionalized version of that story, because it's getting picked up pretty much everywhere. I've seen it on all of my news feeds. It's going to be big. Somebody's going to make a movie about it. Like I said, this happened in China, but in Arkansas, set your screenplay in Arkansas. That would be a much better story, because the ending would be that the mother was actually the biological mother of the son, but nobody cared because they were in love and they're going to have a rat-tailed baby. That's how those kind of things work. But I thought it was an incredible story. It did have 2 happy endings, and I thought it was something I should share with you. There are some things about it that I find confusing. They didn't go into enough detail, especially when it comes to the groom and the whole thing. Apparently, they wound up getting married, but the story focused on, of course, the reuniting of the mother and daughter, and the other family's role in how they found this baby, they said, just on the side of the road, even though the real mother said she went missing. Yeah, discrepancy there. We could add some drama into that screenplay. But the only thing they didn't do was ever talk about how the guy felt. Nobody interviewed the guy that's about to get married. How did he feel about all that? Nobody gave a shit about his feelings. Nobody mentioned, if he was for it, if he was against it, if he was confused. Maybe let's call it off. It's like, hey, looked to his bride-to-be and said, hey, I always thought your sister was pretty good looking, but now come to think of it, if she's your sister, then that means your mom's done it twice, and now I don't know what to think, because the thought of marrying outside the family all of a sudden seems weird. Yeah, but it's a good story anyway. We have some great pork tonight. As you know, I like to talk about my daily life here in Cambodia. We went to the market, one of the markets, and Sung Lai bought some pork, some meat, and man, these things, the way she cooked them, they had a lot of that nice fat on the top, because I'm not the healthiest guy. I'm old. I smoke. I drink. I stress out too much. I probably have diseases ravaging my body that I'm not even aware of. But the one thing I do know is that when my body doesn't get enough of that bad stuff, I start feeling really horrible. And my immediate satisfaction to feel better is, to me, a better payoff than being miserable, because people will say, well, in the long run, you'll feel better. I don't have a long run. I'm going to be dead by the end 3+ years. You know, maybe not even that long. You never know. But the pork was delicious. It was tender. All that fat melted down, made for a really nice base for a sauce she made. So it's a nice chunky piece of big thick pork, almost like big thick bacon strips. I mean, they're like this, man, and they're like really thick. She fried them up real nice. That fat melted down. They were tender and juicy. She made a little sauce to go on top of them, and I'm telling you, whoo, I am full. I am fat. I'm probably a little gay, but hey, that's okay. But I'm going to blame the pork if that winds up to be the case. Just because it's pork. And we always talk about porking. That's how it goes. All right, this is going to be a short one, but I had to tell that story. I had to get it out of my system. Kind of like every day, there are 3 things, guys. I'm telling you, 3 things. The 3 B's. 3 B's you need to take care of every day. Okay? Empty your bladder. Empty your bowels. Empty your balls. This is life advice. I'm giving you gems. Follow this advice. You'll be okay. All right. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Senglai said, welcome to the podcast. Senglai, do you want to say goodbye? The podcast is over. The podcast? No. The podcast is over.
It's over.
You heard it here first, folks. Senglai. Yay! All right, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Don't cut your toenails and snip them while you're in public.